I'm going to make a roasted red pepper vinaigrette. Traditional vinaigrettes are 3-to-1 oil to vinegar ratio, but I like to lighten it up quite a bit. This one only has 1/2 cup of olive oil to 1/3 cup of red wine vinegar. It's a great way to add flavor to non-starchy vegetables with minimal calories. This can be used as a dressing for leafy greens, but also as a sauce for other non-starchy vegetables. I just roasted these red peppers over an open flame on my stove, but you could broil or roast these in the oven or grill them inside or out. This recipe is a great way to use up leftover grilled or roasted peppers. So it's super simple. You're just going to put the 1/2 cup of olive oil into a high-powered blender. Especially works well if you have one that can really puree, but if not, it's still going to be delicious. And this is 1/3 cup of red wine vinegar. This is the zest of 1 orange and the juice of 1 orange, 1 small orange. So I used a zester, but if you don't have that, you can use the grater attachment, or excuse me, the fine side on a grater. So that's just going to go right in, as well as all 3 roasted red bell peppers. I have 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt and 1/4 teaspoon of freshly cracked pepper. And then I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon of dry thyme. Now, I think the recipe that you're going to get calls for 1 teaspoon of fresh thyme. Anytime you're making a substitution and you're going to use dry instead of fresh, you're going to want to use about 1/2 to 1/3 dry as whatever it calls for fresh. Okay, so the lid is just going to go right on. This is super simple. Make sure the lid is actually on there really well. I'm going to give it a couple of pulses to get it going. And I'll turn it up a little bit. Okay, so this roasted red pepper vinaigrette is finished, and again, you can use this for a dressing for leafy greens, or you could use it as a sauce for other non-starchy vegetables. You can see how nice and thick that is. It still has really good body for a sauce or a dressing, even though it doesn't have very much fat in terms of oil. If you do choose to use the jarred red peppers, make sure and get them that are packed in water. Most all of them are packed in water, but don't use the ones packed in oil because they are much higher in calories. Okay, today we're going to talk about riced cauliflower. And so that just means we're going to take a head of whole cauliflower, uncooked, and we're going to grate it so that it becomes really tiny pieces, kind of like rice. And you might actually use it in place of rice or other grains. And it's a great option for those who are looking to control blood sugar, especially carbohydrates and calories for diabetes. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take your whole head of cauliflower and just peel these green leaves off. None of these belong on here. So my cauliflower has already been washed and rinsed. And a great thing about riced cauliflower is that it's a much healthier option than some other carbohydrate options. So 1 cup of riced cauliflower has 5 grams of carbohydrate, 2 grams of fiber, and 25 calories. And you can compare that to 1 cup of cooked rice, which is 45 grams of carbohydrate, no fiber, and 200 calories. So once you get to this point with your cauliflower, you're going to want to make what I call a cone-shaped cut into the head. And you can notice that I am cutting away from my hand all the time, and I call it a cone-shaped cut because when we're finished, we have, well, almost a cone-shaped piece that comes out of the middle of it. And so then when you're left with these florets, if you had a food processor, you could absolutely use a food processor to go through. You would just drop the florets in and give them a couple of pulses, and you would have cauliflower rice. If you don't have a food processor, a box grater works great. And you're just gonna take these florets and on the large side of the grater, just start grating away. This one head of cauliflower weighs about 2 to 2.5 pounds and makes 6 cups of cauliflower. It costs $2. And then to compare that, you can buy riced cauliflower at the grocery store, and for about a 3-cup package, it costs $2.60. So it costs a little more than twice as much to buy it pre-riced, and it's just such an easy thing to do. And again, with the grocery store options, you can buy some options that are frozen and they're already seasoned, but beware of these because they can have greater than 400 milligrams of sodium per serving. So that's something that you need to really look out for. So definitely try to, if you're gonna buy it pre-riced, just go ahead and buy some that is plain and is not already seasoned, but better yet, just make your own riced cauliflower. And we have a cup there in just under a few seconds. So I will just continue to grate the rest of this cauliflower. And again, this one head will make about 6 cups and cost just right about $2. It costs just under $2 for one head of cauliflower. Cauliflower rice can be used raw as a replacement for grains and salads like tabbouleh, or cooked as a replacement for steamed rice or other grains. Some people enjoy cauliflower mash as an alternative to mashed potatoes, which have a high carbohydrate count. You can purchase bagged cauliflower rice, fresh or frozen, but it's so much cheaper and easy to make at home. So once the cauliflower is riced, you're going to bring a pot of water to a boil, and you can see that I have a steamer basket right in the pot. The riced cauliflower goes right in, and you could alternatively boil the cauliflower rice, but you would be getting rid of a lot of nutrients when you had to drain it. And so we want to steam it so that we can retain as many nutrients as possible. So this is going to steam for about 15 minutes until it's nice and tender, and then we'll come back and run it through the food processor. Okay, so our cauliflower rice has steamed for about 15 minutes, and I am just gonna transfer that rice to a bowl to let it drain just slightly, but you do want to process it while it is still very hot. In the meantime, I'm going to dump out the water that's in this pot because that's where I'm going to saute some garlic in olive oil so that when we complete our dish, we'll have some additional flavor. Okay, so I have the pan dried and it's just heating again a little bit. I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in the pan. And I have about 3 cloves of chopped garlic. And this is going to be added to the cooked cauliflower rice. So this is just going to saute until it is soft. You do not want to brown it because that will make the garlic taste bitter. So this is just going to saute a little bit, and it's going to get added to the cauliflower mixture when we puree it. Okay, so in the food processor we have the steamed cauliflower rice and the sauteed garlic and olive oil. So I'm just going to put the lid on here and give this a few pulses. And then I'm just going to turn it on, and then I'll stop about halfway through and scrape down the sides. This is going to take about a minute. So now is the time when I'm going to add some freshly cracked pepper. You can see that's already very much looking like mashed potatoes. I'm going to add ½ teaspoon of salt and scrape down the sides. And I'm going to blend again for another 30 seconds or so. So we have a very nice cauliflower mash. It is extremely smooth. This would also be a great time to incorporate some fresh or dried herbs and spices. You can add a little bit more salt and pepper, but if you are watching your sodium intake, then definitely try for some herbs and spices first.